Which way to do my hair was the hardest thing, really. Straight or curly or long with bangs or a sort of a ponytail, or maybe no hair. No, I mean, it was such a sort of whirlwind for me that it was just one sort of ball of excitement from beginning to end. And in all seriousness, that was part of the journey, wasn't it? Establishing the look of him, and yeah. Well, I got an email, a little bit like Alice, I didn't pick up on the signals. The email said, "Do you want to come and play?" And I went, "What, squash or tennis or some kind of racket-based activity?" And then the penny slowly dropped, and then I fell asleep because it was about 2 a.m. or something ridiculous. And it had been so frenzied over Christmas getting myself on tape, and I'd done it, and it had taken a day to compress this little file because iPhones are quite cool and taken a lot of information now. And once that had all been done, and I sort of breathlessly sat back and went, and I got a note back saying, "JJ's on holiday." So it's fine, he has to have a rest sometime, but I just didn't get the tape in time before the holiday, so I waited and tried to forget about it. So it was the most thrilling news. I was just over the moon, and I was a huge fan of the first film for every reason that Chris has just kind of you reminded us of what the strengths of it were and what the strengths of this one are. It's just such a rich experience to be in his hands and storyteller's hands, where you're taken on a journey of high emotion, comedy, adventure, romance, and comedy, and then back through all that again. I mean, it's I knew it would be a riot, so I was well over the moon. I always try to avoid going on the internet. Yeah, I think it's best to try and start with a blank canvas. And if you know you're in the sort of expert hands that I've been fortunate enough to work with and be employed by, a lot of trust goes to those people. So whether it's Mark and Stephen rebooting Sherlock and giving a modern-day twist to a much-loved Victorian hero, it sounds like a cheesy spin-off idea, and yet in those fanboys' hands, it's done with such authenticity and respect for the canon, in the same way that I think Star Trek has been done, that that takes a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And beyond that, yes, it's just to try and imagine that you are, rather like when you're auditioning, I try to imagine I'm the only person they're seeing that day, because it can be overwhelming in the same sense as it can be overwhelming if you try to fulfill everyone's expectations rather than the people nearest to you in the creative process, be it your director and fellow actors and writers. So yeah, that's kind of it. I try to trick myself into believing that no one has ever gone there before. No, it didn't cause me a problem going back. But yeah, I mean, beyond the bangs or how I was going to wear my hair, that was the hardest thing, in all honesty, because it meant an awful lot of eating in a very short space of time and a lot of working out. But fortunately, I had a fantastic trainer in the shape of Mr. Munro, otherwise known as Peanut, who's also trained Mr. Tom Hardy, who's known to get quite big. And we worked together. We'd known each other through Tom on Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. So that was a lovely thing, but a lot of hard work. And yet I really enjoyed it. I'd never been asked to before, and it was very integral to the character. I had to have a strong physical shape and presence and be able to move at the same time. So I couldn't just be a stiff lump of muscle. I had to be able to kind of, stretch and fling my arms and legs about a bit. And I loved all of that. I really, really enjoyed it. Although there was one stage where I ate about 4,000 calories a day and then carb depleted. This is so boring. I can't believe I'm saying this. And it's horrible. You turn into an absolute creature from hell because all the fuel you've been relying on to kind of get you through the workout disappears, and it's all about going whoop around the muscle. And it's just horrible, I know how girls feel. Diets are shite. But the workout was fun, and God, the amount of live action that this man lets us do and wants us to do, it's part of the visual thrill. We have the most amazing people who build this world around us in SFX and post, but we're asked to do an awful lot of work in front of it beforehand. So you get the joy of seeing real bodies in these incredible environments, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Chicken. I had a lot of chicken. Chicken, all sorts of chicken. And salmon and Christ, I don't know. Are you from a food program? Right, oh, you are, right, okay. God, that took me a long time to work out. So I was playing Sherlock until midnight last night, so my powers of deduction are a bit sleepy this morning. I would say yes, and protein shakes, but we tried to keep it normal, food-based, carb and protein, and, and chicken. And I can't think what else I ate. Can you remember what I ate? I had a lot of what these guys ate, because I suddenly discovered they were walking on set with these beautiful little bags with sort of pre-made meals. I thought, where did you get one of those? Oh, that's a dietitian. Oh, okay, can I have a dietitian? Yeah. Oh, okay, so I don't have to eat chicken and then more chicken, just because I was for like 2 weeks eating chicken, potatoes, and broccoli. That, they were just
do it in the voice of the 10-year-old.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Gosh. How you've grown. You had nothing to worry about. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I mean, that's a great question. That would take too long to think about it to come up with a good answer. But I'm pretty chuffed, I think. I mean, I you know, what was I doing when I was 10? Yeah, I was probably playing Anne in Half a Sixpence at school at that time. So the idea of being in a Star Trek film was probably very far from Anne's mind. I think he was just very worried about, you know, that it gets confusing when you're constantly playing girls at that age. The bangs a tale. Yeah, no, I think he would have been really, really surprised and wouldn't quite have believed it.